when it comes to questions of in that group, how does a person of a lower rank in the company address a person as a higher rank in the company? That's not really, that's about culture rather than about language.
Yeah, I see.
We would find maybe even a difference between the US and the UK. The US might be a less formal culture, and so people would use first names more.
Yeah.
The UK might be a more formal culture where people would use last names more. But then if we're talking about Russia, China, and Germany, those three also might have different ways of using names and addressing each other.
Exactly.
So that culture that those three engineers are working in is a culture that arises in the moment. And they have to negotiate these cultural matters of politeness, or even things like table manners. When you sit down, how do you use your knife and fork or your chopsticks, or
drink soup first, or
exactly, or do you use a spoon for the soup, or do you drink the soup? In Japan, you drink the soup like a cup. And so all of these things, that's not about language, it's about culture. And okay, if you've got these three guys in China, then probably you want to do it Chinese style. But then say your Chinese engineer and your German engineer and your Russian engineer go to an oil project in Saudi Arabia, but they're working in an international environment, then it gets really interesting. Because there's no home culture. And this is increasingly common in the world.
Yes, so that's something we really shall be aware of. You want to really communicate in English, you have to know more about the cultures of different language or different countries.
Right, or you just have to understand that you don't know about the cultures of different countries, and so the people need a kind of sympathy. People need to understand that if somebody walks up to me and says, "Hey, Lansford," maybe in his culture that's okay and normal. In my culture, it seems a bit direct. And so I have to say, okay, well,
adjust yourself.
Right, I can adjust myself, and I can say, "Oh, call me Lewis," or something like this. But we just need to pay attention to these cultural things, and rather than becoming offended or confused, I might say, "Is that how you do it in your country? You just call people Lansford?" Or something like that. So you need some negotiation to know how to communicate together.
I see. So in the end, language learning purpose is to communicate, right? The communication is the goal in the end.
Exactly.
And communicate not just messages, but culture, etiquette, and all these things behind.
And understanding that the English that you use can be completely free of culture sometimes, or it can include a lot of cultures. It can, Chinese English in some ways will include Chinese culture. American English may include some American culture, but all of those cultures belong together. And I want to say again that if you go to the US and speak English there, of course, US culture is very important in that situation. If you go to the UK, you go to Canada, then the language that you use, the English that you use there, is full of the local culture. But if you're using English outside of those places with other people who aren't American and aren't British and aren't native speakers, then culture is a lot more difficult to define.
I see. So you have to define the problem. The problem is not your accent. Maybe sometimes if you have some problems, it's not related to your accent, but related to your lack of knowledge in culture.
Right.